Welcome to Beyond the Trailers coverage of the 2015 Academy Awards, giving you an in-depth look at the top categories. Right now, we're going to take a look at Best Director, which isn't as diverse as some had hoped it would be this year. That's right, Selma's Ava DuVernay didn't make the cut. Yet after Ang Lee and Kathryn Bigelow, not to mention nominations for Steve McQueen and Lee Daniels, maybe the Academy feels they can take a break. If you don't agree, be sure to vote in Beyond the Trailers annual Oscar poll, which includes a write-in section. Now let's take a look at this year's very vanilla and very male nominees.
Wes Anderson, Budapest Hotel.
It's hard to get more vanilla than Wes Anderson, but the real question is, how about more talented? This is Anderson's 8th film, but only the 4th time he's been nominated, with no wins to date. Well, actually, the Grand Budapest Hotel covers nominations 4 through 6, as Anderson has also been nominated for Best Original Screenplay and, as one of the film's producers, Best Picture. That's a lot of nominations to go with all the money this movie has made. Yes, this is by far and away Anderson's most successful film to date, $100 million more than the previous top film, The Royal Tenenbaums, and it's likely the Academy will feel that and these nominations are enough. And if Anderson does win, it'll probably be in one of the other 2 categories than this one. But it's also worth noting that this is Anderson's first directing nomination, which means that one of the most unique directors working today has finally gotten himself on the board.
Alejandro González Inarritu, Birdman.
Now, this isn't Alejandro Inarritu's first directing nomination. His first was for Babel back in 2007, for which he did not win. But he might win this one. That's because this category has really boiled down to him and Richard Linklater, with one winning here and the other likely taking Best Picture. And since they're both also producers on their films, that way they each get a statue. Some feel, though, it's no contest, as Birdman features 20-minute takes edited together to look like one long single take throughout the entire film. That's not just good cinematography and good editing, that's good directing. The last time that was famously done was Alfred Hitchcock's Rope, yet he didn't win an Oscar either. Heck, he wasn't even nominated. And as I explained over in the Best Picture category, this simply might not be Inarritu's year for Best Picture or Best Director. Instead, it could just be a staging ground for his entry next year, The Revenant, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy. And one last thing. Some of you might argue that Inarritu's nomination brings diversity to the table, as did Alfonso Cuarón's win last year. Both are Mexican, which I believe falls under the Latino category last time I checked. However, this has had no sway whatsoever on everyone tweeting #OscarsSoWhite this year when the nominations were announced. So I guess it doesn't count as diversity. What do you think?
Richard Linklater, Boyhood.
What's more impressive, 20-minute takes or a film that takes 12 years to film? That's the big question this year, and it's time to argue Richard Linklater's side. Now, when the trailer for Boyhood first debuted, I called it a gimmick movie, which annoyed a lot of people. Yet, as it continues to be an awards juggernaut, fans of all the other movies have taken to calling it a gimmick as well. Interesting. Still, even if it is a gimmick and it does manage to win an Oscar for Best Picture or Best Director, and it's beyond the one it's already getting for Patricia Arquette, doesn't that in some ways make it even more impressive? And from a director's perspective, how hard must it be to keep track of a storyline and characters over the course of 12 years, with long breaks in between shooting where you go make other movies? Someone already did the long take, and the Academy wasn't impressed back then either. This is new. Plus, come on, the guy's been killing himself in the low-budget indie circuit for decades. Let's throw him a bone.
Bennett Miller, Foxcatcher.
Let's just hope our next 2 nominees stay off the internets, as they took the spots many felt should go to Ava DuVernay for Selma, David Fincher for Gone Girl, or pretty much anyone else. In fact, these nominations seem more like a favor to those running their respective films' Oscar campaigns than the directors themselves. Yet it would be hard for anyone to say anything nastier to Bennett Miller than what the real-life Mark Schultz has recently said to him. Schultz, despite having a good relationship with Miller prior to the film's release, has since openly and heavily criticized the film and Miller for depicting his relationship with John DuPont as having homosexual undertones. Schultz later apologized, but the damage to the film's rep was done. Maybe the truth was just too hard for Schultz to watch or have out there, considering what happened. Then again, maybe Miller did misrepresent the relationship, doing what he needed to do to produce an awards contender. Miller certainly does know how to play the game, which you can not only tell from watching Foxcatcher, but from his previous directing nomination for Capote, for which Philip Seymour Hoffman won. And while Miller wasn't nominated personally for Moneyball, that film did get nominations for Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill, plus a slew of others, including Best Picture. Foxcatcher also has a lot of nominations, but isn't a strong frontrunner in any of them. However, an awards pro like Miller, he'll be back.
Morton Tildum, The Imitation Game.
Who? Oh, Harvey, you are so good at what you do. Considering the talent snubbed, Harvey Weinstein is the only valid reason Morton Tildum beat them into this category. There's no way he'll win, but who cares, as he's already gotten his golden statues. Yes, one of Tildum's next films will be Passengers, a sci-fi romance set to star Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. Let's hope he doesn't get in the way of that movie either. Tildum is a Norwegian director whose thriller Headhunters initially put him on Hollywood's radar. The Imitation Game is actually not just his Hollywood debut, but his English language debut to boot. Not bad. I wonder if there's a fruit basket out there big enough to thank Harvey for making this happen. What would you suggest he do to show his thanks? And those are the Best Director nominees. Be sure to leave your thoughts down below and also to vote in Beyond the Trailer's annual Oscar poll via the link in the video description. I'm Grace Randolph, and I hope you'll check out the rest of BTT's Oscar coverage right now.